Have you ever felt compassion for someone but did not act upon it? Maybe you saw someone in need of help and chose not to help them. Maybe you saw someone who was distressed, but you chose not to get involved. How does choosing against our compassion affect us? Welcome to Presentation Ponder Practice. Somewhere around 25 years ago, I went with 3 or 4 friends to the Neighborhood Facilities Building, a community place maintained by the Haleville Park and Rec and Sports. On that day, a small group of NBA wannabes played ball for several hours. When it came time to go home, our usual ride was not available. We called around and found no one who could give us a ride home. So we set out on foot. It was only 1.6 miles to home. The problem was not the distance. The problem was the temperature. The weather for the day was cold. Without any thought for the weather, we rode to the facilities in a warm car, played in a heated gym, and discovered our need for warmer clothing only when it came time to go home. The first half a mile was brutal. We were in gym shorts, basketball jerseys, and had nothing else to protect us from the elements. The further we walked, the colder we got because we were walking into the wind. Our group of 3 or 4 was huddled together as best we could. A few cars passed us by, and the wind they stirred up was the deciding factor for us to try and get a ride from one of them. I wish I could remember the one who stopped. It was a mother and her daughter. When we climbed inside the warm vehicle, a van if my memory serves me well, we thanked them over and over again. The mother at one point said, "I was not going to stop. We saw that y'all were making it pretty well. It was my daughter that had a better look, though." She said, "Mom, they're cold and shivering." Seeing us cold and shivering, she was ready to help. She felt compassion for us. The mother needed a little more convincing. As the lady continued, she said, "When my daughter asked, 'Don't you remember the lesson, that time when the guy said, when you see someone in need, stop and help them?' I knew we had to stop and help." I said, "That sounds like the Good Samaritan." The lady, with a smile on her face, said, "Yes, it is. Our pastor was talking about it just a few weeks ago." One of my friends said, "I don't know if you're a good Samaritan or not, but I am glad you stopped. It was cold out there." The daughter was ready to stop when she saw our condition. The mother was ready to help when she was reminded of the Good Samaritan. When our compassion is turned on, our eyes see the needs of others, and we want to help any way we can. Over time, if we bypass our compassion for whatever reason, we will begin to lose feeling. Did you know that if you turn compassion off, you can even become desensitized to feeling for others? Biblical compassion is always both a feeling and the appropriate responding action. When we feel for someone but do nothing to help them with their needs, it is only empathy or sympathy. Acting in response to the empathy and sympathy by aggressive acts of selfless service, that is compassion. Compassion needs to be shown in actions. 1 John chapter 3 verse 17 asks, "Whoever has the world's goods and sees his brother in need and closes his heart against him, how does the love of God abide in him?" Compassionate behavior is shown to be given to the oppressed and needy, the bereaved, to children, prisoners, forgiven sinners, the sick, solitary, widows, and orphans. God Himself showing this compassion, therefore, God inspires human compassion. He granted favor to the Israelites in the sight of the Egyptians so that the Israelites did not go empty handed. Exodus chapter 3, verse 21. God granted Daniel favor and compassion in the sight of the commander of the officials. When Daniel made the request to not defile himself with the king's choice food or wine, Daniel chapter 1 and verse 9. Compassion is rewarded by God. He who despises his neighbor sins, but happy is he who is gracious to the poor, says Proverbs 14, verse 21. The godly person compassionately conducts business fairly. Thus, he will maintain his cause in judgment. Psalm 112, verses 4 and 5. One who is gracious to a poor man lends to the Lord, and he will repay him for his good deed. Proverbs 19, verse 17. When compassion is limited by human decisions, it leads to a lack of compassion. It is interesting how general or broad the teachings of Jesus are at times. When it comes to the compassion of the Samaritan who showed his mercy, Jesus instructed, "Go and do the same." Luke 10, verse 37. Turning compassion on and off will ruin our compassion. Have compassion for others. When you feel compassion, act on it. Act on it with selfless service. May God bless compassionate people.